our SDGs and a way to stay sustainable as chefs in kitchens. For all our World Chefs audience and other folks that are joining us here today, we are going to be talking about sustainable seafood practices from a couple of different perspectives. Yay, Barton. Good morning, Børre and Barton. Or good afternoon, say to both of you.
Good day.
Always so nice to have people globally connected and online and watching us right now. We have people from South Africa and from Greece and the Philippines and Palestine and Sri Lanka. From down under, we've got people in Australia or New Zealand. So wonderful to have everyone here in this space. And I want to welcome both of you. So good morning, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Great to have you
I'm
both.
joining you from the ragged, jagged, delicious coast of Maine here in the United States, our easternmost and northernmost state in the continental, where seafood is top of mind always. So thrilled to be here with you.
And Børre, tell us where you are coming in from.
I'm coming in from Norway, in the west coast of Norway, a city called Bergen. That's where I have my office these days. So yeah.
Lovely. So we've got Maine and Norway, and I'm coming to you. I'm Shona Chalmers. I'll just be moderating this panel today. I'm the chair for the Feed the Planet Committee for World Chefs, and excited to share what we're going to speak about today. So today we're looking sort of the lens of sustainability seafood and how chefs can be engaged with it. So what I want first, before we get into the nitty gritty, I'll start Børre first and then Barton. Just tell me a little bit about yourself through the lens of seafood sustainability, sort of how you are where you are today, what your perspective is.
Yeah, I mean, in the halibut industry that I'm working in Stirling, we are a really small company today, and we're having big plans for the future. But the plans have to involve doing it in a sustainability way, I think, because you can't. There's the only way of doing the future is doing a sustainable way, I think. So yes, yeah. It's very important. It involves all things. I mean, the feed that you're using, how you treat your people at the sea cage system, and how you keep all your chemicals in your sea sites, and your impact on the environment. You have to do it in a green way.
Perfect. Tell me a little bit about yourself, I guess, how you got to be where you are right now, where you're sitting.
Well, myself, you think?
Yes.
Yeah. I've been working for marine fish for 20 plus years now. I started up with a master thesis in halibut actually, and so after that I worked with cod, and then in 2008 I jumped over to halibut. I've been working with halibut production and working with solving problems with the biology for making the juvenile production up and working. And the last years I've been working with the R&D in Stirling, all kinds of research and development in the halibut industry to find new recipes, for example, for the feed content in our feed, using new raw materials, and basically working with how we should grow in the future in R&D. And also I was a quality manager in Stirling. I mean, it's a small campus. We need to have a lot of hats. So I had a quality hat, and we're working with the certification also for a couple of years ago. So yeah.
So you're doing R&D as manager now and senior biologist. You wear a couple of hats and all around the idea, sort of the food supply chain. So where we're getting our fish from and how it's being treated and how it's being fed. So Barton, tell me from your perspective where you sit today through our lens of what we're looking at.
Wow. Well, my thing, I'm a seafood evangelist, and to describe that word, meaning it is my mission to get out there into the world, to get more chefs more confident and competent in putting more seafood on our menus more often. I think that there is so very much that we need to fix about seafood. There are truly horrific things happening in our oceans. There are also really super, very great things happening in our oceans. There are things happening in aquaculture, which is the farming of shellfish, finfish, marine plants, and algae. There are such great things happening there that seafood is both something to fix, yes, but it is also a tool through which we as chefs can begin to address critical and compelling issues that we face across our globe, like climate change, women's economic empowerment and upward mobility, equity, as well as public health crises. Seafood is an answer. I don't know if you can tell this or not, but I'm pretty passionate about what I'm doing here, and I'm thrilled to be on with y'all.
I am so excited. This is fabulous. So I'm going to start we'll go sort of sourcing a little bit, and we'll come back to sort of usage. We're going to go back and forth a little bit because I want to get an idea a little bit about, Børre, the work you do in research and development, sort of what drives the work you do. And then we're going to talk about the impact sort of that has for chefs with Barton after. So tell me, the work you do, how does it shape or how does it get, how does it impact what we're doing?
I mean, if you have to grow as we are planning to do, we have to, as I told you, you have to do it in a green way. And the feed that we're using is one of the key elements here, because you can't take out more fish from the oceans now. It's flat. It's been flat for like 30 years, I think. You can't take out more there, so we have to find another ingredients for having the growth. And what we see with halibut, for example, is that they don't like vegetables in their feed, so we have to find alternatives for that. I mean, the salmon is using a lot of vegetables, but we are not able to do that with halibut because they don't like it. So what we are looking into, what comes after the vegetables, and what we are looking into now is using, I mean, if you look at the poultry industry in the world, it's like 103 million tons of poultry produced in the world last year. A lot of cutoffs and pieces from that they're not using for feed. I mean, you can grind it up, dry it up, or use it as a fish meal, put it in your feed. So that is something that we are looking at. I know that the Mediterraneans are using that for the trout production today, but we are looking in that to start to use that in our feeds, and we do some trials now. It looks really good actually. That just byproducts that we can use in growing the halibut. And also you have sorry,
using things that we already have that are maybe not being fully utilized, right? That's
exactly. And also you have the black soldier fly that is big factories that they produce protein meals from flies that you can use in your feed. That's also something that we're going to look into. So we have to be alternative ingredients for the growth of the future. I think that's very important.
So thinking about the feed, and that's what you're working on primarily, what does that look like sort of in the end fish? Like, how do we know what the end fish is going to be like? Is there any kind of certification, or is there anything to say this has been done well? Like, where does the chef or the individual look for this information?
Well, I mean, it's going to be all. We don't do this in large scale yet. This is just trials first, but it's going to be. Every customer is going to know that this has been used in their feed, and it's going to be. If you look into the certification, we have a global gap certification. You need to put up all the ingredients that you put in your feed there. So that is a demand for us. So yeah, that's an important thing.
I mean, I know here in Canada, and I think in the States, there's things like MSC or Ocean Wise. Is there anything sort of broader scope that you look at for where you should be aligning your fish with, or how to get it certified so customers, when they're purchasing, they know about this?
Yeah, I mean, if you have a global gap certificate, it should be on your case that is global gap certified. And if not, you can go into the global gap home pages, and you can find the companies there, the ones who are global gap certified.
Okay, so global gap, it'll have sort of a logo on it, and you'll be able to see it right on the packaging or on the box and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So Barton, when you're looking from your end, is there any sort of what we can look for, or what kind of efforts can we make sort of creating relationships in that with our supply chain? What can we do from that perspective?
Sure. Well, I'd love to talk about the supply chain, but also
Yeah.
take a step back to talk
Yes.
about the overall content and construct
Yes.
of our menus, how we as chefs think about our menus. So talking about the supply chain, yeah, there's MSC, Marine Stewardship Council, that chef you mentioned. There's ASC, Aquaculture Stewardship Council, and they represent a fair amount of the product produced. I think MSC is, forgive me, I'm just talking up to my head. I think it's about 11% of total fisheries. But bottom line is you need to work with your vendors. Is the through line here, right? We as chefs don't stand alone on islands, right? Our kitchens are a through line for information. You know, people show up to our back door, meaning our vendors, with they want to sell us stuff. They want to tell a story behind their product. They want to make it stand out in some way, shape, or form, right? So that it gets your attention. And then you as a chef have to figure it out, menu it, you have to train to it, you then have to execute on it, and then you have to sell it to your guests, right? So we are just part of a through line here of information. What I think is so important is, yes, there is this environmental lens through which we can look at seafood, which is very extremely important, right? We cannot do more harm to our oceans, to our waterways, through our production of food. Not only can we do no more harm, though, I think we have an equal responsibility to use that production to create good.
Okay.
And so as much as I am giving you, chef, I'm giving you permission to fall in love with seafood as a category of ingredient worthy of our culinary attentions, worthy of our citizenship attentions, meaning how we exist in this world and what impacts we create, right? I'm giving you permission for that, but I'm also giving you permission to more localize, to think more about the things that, chef, you care about. Okay, what do we got here? We got Iraq, we got Sri Lanka, we got Myanmar, we got Turkey, we got Ontario, not a great ocean state, but we got Sri Lanka, we got India, we got South Africa, we got India. I mean, we could go on and on in this list, right? There are people in your communities doing very compelling work around seafood and sustainability, and doing it in a way that they are passionate about. And I think it's high time that we as chefs are sort of given permission to use seafood, not just as a do no harm approach, but rather to invest in our communities through those individual purveyors, suppliers, who, guess what? They are desperate in need for your attention, chef, for your storytelling ability.
That's great. That's great to hear, because I mean, Børre, you may have feel it on your end. I feel like sometimes we don't know what to do, so use less fish. That's what I should be doing. Like, just use less fish, right? That's been sort of the feel that I've had for so long, because I want to make good choices, but if I don't have the ways by which to do it, and I don't have the time, because I'm a busy chef and I'm running a restaurant, I'm doing all kinds of things, I'm trying to do right by my staff, I'm trying to make good local choices. How do I get that fish on my menu? What sort of tools do I use to get it there, right? Like, it feels very daunting for me sometimes.
Sure. Well, if I may, if I could go back to that sort of larger menu construct idea. Yeah, when we think about seafood, it's sort of guilty before proven innocent, right? We have to exonerate it, prove that it's not doing harm before we can even consider it. But as chefs, we have so many global cuisines represented here, right? But by and large, in so many ways, that Western center of the plate protein is so important to the way that food is constructed, certainly in hotels, certainly on cruise ships in many ways, right? So I think it's important to look at seafood, not just in the strict environmental lens of that seafood, but as a center of the plate protein, which is beef, pork, chicken, lamb, veal, turkey, goat.
Yes.
The things that we actually eat across this world, right? And when we do so, seafood begins to look really good, just as from the get-go, before we even look at the individual specifics of that seafood in particular, the category, from greenhouse gas, freshwater usage, antibiotic use, land conversion, meaning how much land are we planting under soy and corn to feed to the fish, antibiotic, as well as feed conversion ratio, meaning how much are we putting into that fish. Across all 5 of those metrics, seafood is the best choice.
Okay.
Starting off with, right? We need a plant-forward diet everywhere in the world. That is just the truth. But if we think about seafood as a center of the plate, right on. So before we even have to exonerate it, we have to think about the category in that positive light.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about the resources that we use to create any of the proteins or the center of the plate pieces that we have, fish and seafood can easily be, bumped up the list very quickly, as you said. I'm thinking.
Yeah. I just want to comment what you said, Barton, because if you look at the biology here, I mean, if you look at the cattle and you look at the terrestrial animals, I mean, they produce heat just to keep the 36 something degrees in a core temperature. That costs a lot of energy, and they use their feet to stand against the gravity, so that costs a lot of energy. But the fish, it's take the heat from the oceans, and it swims with a swim bladder or it lays on the bottom. So they use a lot of less energy to live than terrestrial animals. So that's more effective in producing good proteins, actually.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, Børre, you're very well versed in this. I wonder if, when you're at Sterling, is there anything you do to help? Because you are on the beginning of the food chain pretty much, right? As far as creating fish and developing the product. How are you working, or is there anything you're doing to work with chefs to help educate them or to make them a little bit more aware of the work you're doing or how to?
Yes, actually, we have something in Sterling called the Sterling Academy, where we invite chefs and people who work in the grocery stores. Have you been there?
No, I'm just asking for an invitation.
Yeah, it's we invite fish people who supply our products. We invite them to our facilities in Norway, and they have this round trip that they see all the sea cage system and the land sites and how we do the juvenile production. And after that, we have top chefs from Bocuse with us and making preparations for different kinds of meals with our customers, and then learn all about the halibut. I mean, the core temperature should be like 47 degrees Celsius, and they learn a lot of how to treat the halibut in a proper way, so it always tastes excellent. So that is something we do a couple of days per year. So it's very popular.
Even with holding the fish, I mean, storage of it and getting it to the cutting board to the plate, this kind of information is really essential. I mean, Barton, when we're talking with fish and seafood, what can we do for chefs to sort of think about that ambassadorship, like in wasting less? Is there anything that chefs can specifically?
Yeah, let me tell you a horrific, truly horrific bit of information. Okay. Globally, 50%, 50% of all seafood is thrown out or wasted. There might be less globally. In America, that's certainly true. Like, do you want to make your fish 100% more sustainable? Great. Don't throw any of it away, right? It's a perishable product. It has a different shelf life and in continuity of life than does beef or chicken. So I understand the pressures and the issues at play there. Some of the things that we can do as chefs, one of them is to begin to embrace frozen seafood. Yes, I'm a top chef sitting here telling you frozen seafood is a good option. Is fresh going to go extinct? No, no, absolutely. There's always going to be a fresh market, and that's very important. But with frozen, it's easier to order because of consistency. It's better to inventory. It's easier to train on because of that consistency. You're going to have a lower cost profile, just kind of inherently, because it takes that waste out of the system. From a sustainability perspective, duh, it's a win to not throw something out. But also from a fisher's or a farmer's perspective, great. That begins to rationalize the supply chain throughout the year, right?
Okay.
But let's talk about quality for a second, right? Because frozen seafood, ew, gross, right? Well, yeah, in the past, because that was the last stop, was the freezer before it went into the trash can, right? So it was lower quality product frozen in a freezer that's not meant for freezing. There's two kinds of freezers. One is meant to freeze things, to make them frozen. The other is meant to keep them frozen.
Yeah.
We put it in the bottom of our low boy refrigerator freezer. Guess what? It's going to lose all of its quality. But when it's frozen at the peak of freshness, sometimes even pre-rigor mortis, it is so fresh, it is so clean. We're not stopping spoilage. We are arresting pristine quality.
Okay.
And maybe it ends up being 95% of the quality of a fresh product. But with all of those benefits that I've just spoken about, that's a really big win ultimately.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you're getting a consistent product and you're giving your customer something better than holding a fresh fish and hoping that it's okay by the time you serve it, right? Like a lot of times you're hitting that edge of almost okay, right? I've seen it because they don't want to lose it or waste it and be that 50% that's getting lost, right?
And you can smell it as soon as you walk into the restaurant. I can tell you, I'm not ordering.
See, when it walks by the table, I've had a waiter walk by and yeah, not that. So we have someone asking, Bikesh is asking, just how do they choose sustainable seafood? And I mean, a lot of people have chimed in on the chat saying, just use third party, and they'll help you with this, right? Is third party certification always the way to go?
I think it's maybe the future, because when I started with working with this, it was like okay, but now it's like everybody are into certifications, and it's from a third party side. It's really very strict, the audits that we have from the global gap that we have certified. So it's very strict. It's very you can't get the certification if you don't do everything by the rules, and it's like 300-400 questions that you have to answer and document on every site that we have. How you store your chemicals, how you treat your fish, how you treat the seagulls that goes into your net. It's all kinds of questions. You have to answer them all. You have to document it in a proper way. If not, you're out. And I mean, the sea farmer manager, they are really, I mean, they're working like, okay, this is, how can I do this better next year and next year and next year? And also the Global Gap people are also turning the screw every year, so it's more difficult to get the recertification.
Yeah. So they're not just giving it away. They don't just give the stamp of approval. Because it's their name on there as well, right?
Exactly.
So these organizations want to be the respected certifiers. So in order to do that, they have to have a rigorous process. So people are asking, MSC, ASC, Global Gap. You have to look at, I guess, what's local, because some of them are globally recognized, but not everything is everywhere. But you've got to find something. You've got to do your homework, and again, as part of, I guess, work with your suppliers and see where that leads to, right?
Yes, as we said, it's a lot of different certifications out there, and I mean, just use time to see what's recognized in your country and follow that. I think that's a good way to start.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Barton.
Well, I don't know if anybody's aware of this right now, but we're in a period of global political turmoil, right? Maybe you've heard that we elected a new president here in the United States, and that things are going in different directions
Yes.
in past decades. And this is being replicated all over the world. Bottom line is we as chefs participate in a food system. And a food system is the sum and balance of all of the decisions that go into how food is produced, what we hope to accomplish with it, and how we use it to create those outcomes, right? So what I'm saying to you in this is that a food system at its very best is a function of democracy. It is a function of a community, by that community, for that community, in the ways that matter to that community. So chefs, your white jacket, your toque, your ability to feed people is powerful. It matters when you raise your voice to say in your government structure that fisheries management, that good aquaculture done right matters to you. I know that you're busy. I know that you don't have time to go write fisheries policy, right? But how many of you have hosted a political dignitary in your restaurant? How many people maybe hosted a gathering of an important political party in a hotel, right? We have access to these people, and we need to use our voice to stick up and say, I want food systems that protect our environment, that promote resilient economies, and that promote people who are thriving. Amazing. This is part of our job as chefs. Yeah, I know your dishwasher called out sick today. I know your low boy refrigerator broke overnight. I know you've got your problems to face, but this is a big one that we can contribute to. Thank you.
That's amazing. Yeah, I hear on that. I think of all the opportunities that I have as a chef, and I have had as a chef. Maybe some of it, yes, really amazing, as Leigh said. Barton, well said, that I could have maybe said more. I'm going this afternoon, I was telling Børre earlier, to a place in Toronto that has been working on a plant-based fish. Really not related, but related. But we've got our local and provincial government coming to that space to look at something that is more forward thinking and is more eco-friendly and environmentally friendly. I can use the power of the white jacket right there and say, what are you doing? What are we doing? Right? So find those opportunities. And there are moments, I mean, even speaking with your customers, when you're in your restaurant, in your hotel, you're doing catering, you can educate, hear the things that, you know, Børre and Barton have said in sharing, like, about sustainable seafood and making better choices for not only just what's on the plate, but where it's coming from, the full supply chain. Right, that's a great takeaway from today. So I want to talk about sort of a wild versus farmed. Børre, where you're at, sorry, I like to open up cans of worms when we're talking fish, right?
That's a box of TNT. Come on.
What do you say, wild versus farmed?
Farmed. Yes.
I will go for farmed fish.
Yes.
I guess, yes, I will. Yes. Why? It's because it's controlled in a good environment. It's, I mean, the diets that they have are sustainable, I think. I mean, if they are certified anyways, I think most of the big industry, and if you look at the salmon industry today, it's all RSC and the Global Gap certified. So it's very controlled, and you have to document everything that you, even the, I mean, if you look at the feed that we're using, you have to document where, what species are used for the fish meal and where the fish is caught at longitude and altitude. So everything is very good documented. And
more traceability then with
traceability. That's the key word, actually.
So we're not doing a back and forth, Barton, but what do you think? What are your thoughts on the chefs are going to say, should I, shouldn't I? Is it better not, or is it just to know the specific fish and know their specs, I guess?
I think the first and foremost thing we need to do, as I've been preaching here for this whole thing, it's seafood. Put more seafood on your menus. Fall in love with seafood. Yeah, I think Børre is absolutely right. There's some very real positives to aquaculture. It's the fastest growing food system we have on our planet. It is a pathway towards innovation that really matter. The work that Børre was talking about with his innovations in feed, aquaculture doesn't just become a problem to solve. It is the pathway for solving other things, creating circular economies that utilize, we're now fermenting sugarcane waste. What otherwise would be burned in a field, we can now ferment that into a protein. From mycelium, mushroom-based proteins for fish feeds, black soldier fly larvae that feed off of municipal compost. I mean, that's not maybe the story you want to tell at the table, right? It's not necessarily sexy, but it's important and it's cool. So yes, aquaculture is this amazing pathway for innovation. But fisheries, wild capture, are so vitally important. Just if I could, agriculture, farming food, right, accounts for 98% of the food that we eat on this planet. And it accounts for the livelihoods of 1 in 4 people on this planet. That's amazing. Seafood accounts for 2% of our global food supply. And it accounts for 1 in 10 people on this planet. So the impact of fisheries and aquaculture on this planet cannot be overstated. It is so important. And the United Nations, with whom we are adjacent and joined today, just released their global seafood report yesterday. 77.2% of all seafood that's landed, caught in the world, is caught under biologically sustainable metrics. Okay. Yeah, there's a lot of work in that. There's a huge amount of nuance. But bottom line is, we know we can do this right. We know how to do it right. We know that good management and government engagement is exceedingly important in this. So I'd like to say, yes, there is a conversation to be had between wild and farmed. However, it's not wild versus farmed.
No.
It is seafood. I love seafood. Oh, let's talk about details with it.
Yeah, it's all about sustainability, I think, because if you can take out the fish that you sell directly to human consumption, if it's sustainable, that is the key word, I think.
Absolutely. So we can't say it enough. I love that we've taken away the fight, because the infighting is going to get away from the big picture of traceability and sustainability and transparency and all the pieces that we want it to be. 1 in 10 people in seafood. Wow. I didn't know that many people were impacted by our choices. That's a lot. Never mind what's happening in our oceans.
Yeah, but I mean, the ocean is like 70-80% of the earth, and 30% is land-based, and you have 2% of it produced in the 70% something. That is, I mean, it should be the other way. You should produce more fish, much more fish in the oceans.
So this has been phenomenal. I really have loved the conversation. What I want either of you the takeaway today, our main takeaway, yes, we want to make sustainable choices. Yes, we want to inform chefs about how to do sustainable seafood and what to put on the plate. But I really want to hear sort of something that maybe you wanted to share that you didn't get a chance to share, Barton, today. That we want to tell our world chefs and our UN community that's watching today about seafood that we should really have as our takeaway today.
Yeah,
well, thank you a lot. Like, don't get me wrong, you've been fabulous. I just don't want to leave you with that unsaid thing.
Well, we didn't talk about public health outcomes.
Okay.
Which is a huge part of what I do. I teach a course at Harvard University around positive public health outcomes through nutrition. This is so important to me. We all have heard the Mediterranean diet or the planetary health diet or the plant-forward diet. All of those are pretty much the same thing.
Yeah.
If we were to follow those guidelines, a lot less red meat, a lot less pork, more seafood, more whole grains, more greens, healthy fats like olive oil, some numbers for you. Okay. If we as chefs were to do that, greenhouse gas emissions down by 29%, fertilizer use 21% less. Cropland devoted to pasture and to soy and corn to feed animals, down by 51%. Freshwater usage down by 13%. That's the side. Win, win, win. Public health side, if we did this in my country, 31% of preventable adult deaths. So let me just say this, 31% of preventable adult deaths. That's 900,000 people every year. Lives would be better, would be saved, let alone would be better for their living. Globally, 15 million lives.
Wow.
Just by following this. And we as chefs can do this. Oh, let me put a different word to describe life. Brother, mom, uncle, granddad. Okay, personalize this. Make it personal. Seafood is a tool. Plants are our tool. To me, this is a moral issue, not to be like higher than and preachy, but just to say like, wait a minute, chefs, you can wake up in the morning and create that amount of good in the world?
Amazing.
I am in.
Thank you, Barton. That's fabulous. So Børre, something you wanted to share about your work, your impact, or something you felt is unsaid? I don't want to leave it unsaid today. I hate
No, I think I've said it all. I think I just want to underline that. I mean, if you're going to buy sustainable, you go for the people who have certified products, and you know that this has been taken good care of all the way from hatching to from the eggs until it's slaughtered, and the people who's involved with it is been taken care of. I think that is a important thing to mention. And another thing is to keep the cooling, the cold temperature all the way from getting the product until you're into your restaurants. I mean, keep it as close to 0 degrees Celsius as possible, because that will give you a longer period of fish, so you don't throw it away. Because yeah, it is, because it's a lot of. I mean, it takes for halibut. It takes between 4 or 5 years to produce this fish, and it takes a couple of days to destroy it. So it's as Barton said, fish food is the most healthy thing you can eat in the world. I mean, the life expectancy will probably go up a lot if people choose to eat more seafood than they do today. So yeah.
That's amazing thought to leave with. A lot of times, I mean, I teach at Humber College here, and I try and have my students understand, even taking an onion, what it takes to go from seed to onion, but thinking about growing a fish for 4 or 5 years and then wasting any of it, it's just, it's unimaginable that you would want to have anything go to waste and not be fully utilized. The full picture of sustainability. I want to say thank you, Barton Seaver, sustainability expert and advocate and ambassador, and Børre Erstad, senior biologist and R&D at Sterling, and all of our world chefs and UN participants that are watching at home. I want to say thank you all for joining us today. This has been amazing. I feel completely inspired, and not like, webcast, I'm telling you I'm inspired. Like, I can't wait to talk to people later today, because this is what I'm going to be talking about. And we will talk more about this sustainability at our Congress in 2026 in Wales. Get your tickets now. There's an early bird ticket rates to join the community. The link will be in the chat. Isla will put it there for you so that you can register if you want to join us there. It has been so nice talking with all of you. Thank you both for joining us today, and all of our World Chefs community at home. And Isla, thank you for bringing this all together for us. I appreciate your efforts always, and have a great rest of your Thursday.